Cavalcade.
Whoa, Corey Mack hazing the tires much like the funny cars. That's a lot of clutch and a lot of power. You saw what happened to Brotherton, not much. But not much of an elapsed time for Corey at 5:04.283.
Here's the next pair, Steve, already firing up, getting ready to go. Rance McDaniel and Scott Coletta are going to match up next. Rance McDaniel running the 11th qualifying car here with a 498.294. He ran a 563 in round one. That got him past Pat Dakin. Now Scott Coletta qualified third with a 480 at 294. He put Tommy Johnson on the trailer early on. Steve's caught up with the winner of our last race, Corey Mack.
Well, Corey, all we have to do is look at the replay to see where the elapsed time went. You can just look at the tires and tell. Tell us about them.
Yeah, I mean, you can really tell out there. You get about half track, and all of a sudden, the RPM goes up, tires start spinning out there. But, you know, when you're racing, you never let off.
And you weren't just black tracking. There was smoke coming up these tires to the finish line.
Yeah, I kept looking for Michael to pass me, but like I said, when it's race day, you never lift.
When they get on those tires like that at the far end of the racetrack, they'll actually wear down a good 6 inches across the width of the tire. The tire stands up when it goes off the line, fills up with air. That's about the amount of contact patch that tire is actually touching the ground. It's probably about 10 inches across total.
Rance McDaniel, the new driver for the layback car, qualified number 11 at 498, beat Pat Dakin in round one. Scott Coletta qualified number 3 at a 480.294. Had another 480 in round one. Low elapsed time of the first round to beat Tommy Johnson. Say goodbye to Rance McDaniel. A tiny bit of tire smoke off of Scott Coletta, but that big wing definitely helping.
A pair of 480s and now a 491 for Scott Coletta. Well, that's the kind of effort you got to have on a racetrack like this to keep moving through the rounds. Look at the clutch smoke coming out of the back of the car. Now at the far end, here's where you're going to start to see those tires haze up a little bit. That big wing doing its job, because you notice it's not as much smoke as we've seen earlier.
Scott, even with all the wing you've got on this car, it still destroyed a set of tires.
Yeah, that's for sure. You know, we knew the track was going to be slippery out there, and we just tried to tame it down a little bit, and, you know, we'll just have to try and tame her down some more in the middle.
Well, the next pair set to go. Here's Eddie Hill. He's going to match up with Blaine Johnson. Oh, well, you see the crew's reaction. That says it all. The burst panel blowing out of the nuclear banana, the Pennzoil backed entry of Eddie Hill. Ursi comes over. He already knows it. When the burst panel lets go, your blower's gone. Your blower's gone, your race is over.
It's a device that's put into the manifold to prevent violent supercharger explosions. When the pressure gets to a preset number, that burst panel releases. That's why the supercharger is still there, but it was not pumping into the engine, it was all going out of that burst panel.
Now watch it on the replay. Just behind Eddie's head, just as he approaches the end of the starting line here, you'll see a burst of flame. Right there.
You know, the burnout is one of the hardest things for a driver to execute. You have to be careful to not over-rev the engine. Eddie didn't do that. None of that was his fault. You have to be careful to not bog it to where maybe you don't smoke the tires and heat up the racetrack. It's very difficult. Some drivers use a throttle stop that is then removed before they stage. Blaine Johnson doesn't. He likes to do it all by himself in the Travers Tool Dragster Special. Blaine has been low qualifier a number of times, has made one final round, but still hasn't won a race. Oh, Blaine won't be real happy with that. He was a number 2 qualifier at a 479. Well, that was only a 502 at 283, and as you can see, he did not shut it off early, going for lane choice. Let's go back to the starting line with Eddie Hill's crew chief.
Obviously not the way the guys wanted to go here today. Fuzzy, what happened?
I don't know. He blew the burst panel out. We'll have to get back and look at it and see what's wrong with it.
You guys deserved a better fate than that this weekend.
Yeah, it was going pretty good, but, you know, just we'll come back.
Fuzzy is rodeo tough, let me tell you. All right, the final 4 are set here at the Virginia's for Lovers Nationals. Corey McClanathan up against Shelly Anderson. Don't they make a nice couple? McClanathan has the lane choice. And in the other half of the Final Four, it will be Blaine Johnson over Scott Coletta. Coletta has the lane choice. Right now, both lanes appear to be about equal. It may not be an advantage, but that can change quickly.
One guy who hates Virginia, Joe Amato. His frustrations continue in 1995. The Valvoline entry, first round loser to Blaine Johnson. Stay with us, we're coming back. Welcome back to the Virginia is for Lovers Nationals on American Sports Cavalcade. Take a look at the grandstands. They won't look like that next year. I guarantee you there'll be plenty more of them. As many people as they've packed into this Richmond facility.
Virginia was one of the earliest colonies. In fact, it's not really a state to this day. It's the Commonwealth of Virginia. And you will find some fantastic architecture from numerous periods, not only the Revolutionary War, but the Civil War as well. In fact, everywhere you drive in the area of this racetrack, you'll see signs pointing you to significant battle sites, especially the Petersburg National Park, site of one of the Civil War's fiercest battles. And here at Virginia Motorsports Park, we got a pretty fierce battle too, right, Bob Fry?
When he looks over into the other lane, who does Al Hoffman not want to see on that side of the track? Did you say John Force? Wrong answer, but thanks for playing. Al Hoffman does not want to see Cruz Pedregon on the other side of the track. The reason? They have met 16 times in their career. Cruz has won 13 of them, including the recent semifinal match at Englishtown in the Mopar Parts Nationals. Hey, maybe the fact that Cruz is disguised as the Batmobile this time will throw Al off, and he'll think it's some other joker on that side of the track.
I don't think so, Steve. I think he knows exactly who it is.
I think he does too. You know, there's one similarity between this sport and golf, believe it or not. In golf, you forget the competition, your enemy is the golf course. And it's the same way here today. Other than your reaction time up the starting line, which can be critical, you've got to battle this racetrack.
I'm telling you, Cruz is the guy to keep your eyes on in this year's Funny Car Championship. Hoffman and Force are concentrating so much on each other that if they forget, this guy and his Batmobile could have another championship on their bat belt.
In the points, well, John Force, no surprise, is ahead, but not by as much as he'd like. Pedregon catching up, so is Al Hoffman. Chuck Etchell, still a big player. He was the #1 qualifier here, even though he got beat in the first round. And Dean Scusa, well, the kid's looking good in the top 5. Helen Hoffman backing Al up in the Western Auto Slick 50 Special. The world record holder for funny car speed at 306 miles an hour. He did it twice at Englishtown. He ran 5:26 here in round #1 to beat Tom Hoover. On the other side is Cruz Pedregon from Central California, qualified #7. Pretty good for that car. It's not a very good qualifier for some reason. 5:25, only 277 miles an hour in qualifying. Ran 5:31 to beat Kenji, as we said earlier, in round #1. They get a look in at Al Hoffman's body coming up. Crew chief Tom Anderson, this is a ritual. He goes through Austin Coyle in the Force car, several others, making adjustments they care not to tell us about.
Steve, everybody on the circle will tell you this Western Auto car has got more horsepower in it than any other funny car. The key is getting it down the racetrack round after round after round and picking up those points.
Well, Bob Brandt, the crew chief on the Joe Gibbs owned Cruz Pedregon Pontiac, is no slouch when it comes to power either. But you're right, Hoffman has the big top end charge, and that is raw HP. Pedregon blazes the tires after dropping a cylinder off the starting line. Hoffman at 5:35 only, and I really mean only, 276 miles an hour. Pedregon at a 5:46 at 264. And Rob, when we watch this again, he had a dead hole just a few feet off the starting line on the left side. Watch the raw fuel come out.
They say, there you see it right there, they say that the average cylinder is worth about 800 horsepower in one of these funny cars. And when you're racing against a guy who's got more horsepower than anybody else on the circuit, the one thing you cannot afford to do is lose any of your cylinders. That happened to Cruz. He's out of it. Hoffman talks to Steve.
Al Hoffman can now go see the movie Batman Forever and enjoy the flick because you handled him.
Well, that's what we're looking to do. Go rounds here. We move back into second place, and it's going to be a long, hot summer yet. But this car over here, Cruz Pedregon does a hell of a good job, and it's an honor to race him and to beat him also.
Well put.
The next pair is ready to go. Dean Scusa versus Gary Densham. Now, Densham beat Chuck Etchels in round 1. He qualified 16th with only a 5:51 at 267 miles an hour. He improved, though, to beat Etchels. Dean Scusa, lots of people are keeping an eye on this car because it ran really well at Gainesville, then dropped off the pace for a while, and we're starting to see Scusa get back on track. He qualified number 8 with a 5:29 at 279 miles an hour. Slowed down to a 5:37, but he beat Gary Clapshaw to move on to the next round. There's a good look at Densham, who put away Chuck Etchels to make this matchup.
Riddle me this, riddle me that. Drop cylinders hurt the back, Cruz.
Yeah, we got our wings clipped out here, but, you know, we've raced Hoffman an awful lot. I think we've beat him all the times we've raced him this year. He's a great guy, great team, great sponsor, but just wasn't our day, but we ran awful good here, very consistent, but evidently we have not dropped cylinders in a long time, so evidently it finally caught up to us.
Now you need Force to go out.
Yeah, well, I think Hoffman's been doing good at that, so maybe Hoffman can take the boy out. Thanks.
Lance Larson, one of the biggest crew chiefs in the business, working for Dean Scusa. They've really done a great job at dialing this Matco Quick Shine 99 entry in here. They think they have found the right combination, set to get back at it.
Densham pedaling the car, trying to keep it hooked up, but it was Scusa by a mile. 540, 271 miles an hour. Densham a 594 from at 180 miles an hour. These are elapsed times and speeds from the late 70s. I don't know what the heck's going on here.
There you see it, the one that Hoffman has nightmares about, or dreams about, drools over. Can't wait to get his hands on him. It's kind of a love-hate relationship. I'm not so sure either one of these drivers could survive right now without the other. Well, the roar of the crowd is in approval of Force's trademark lengthy burnout. Casey Spurlock, on the other hand, wants to make that a trademark of his own, as he's been extending quite a few feet to those burnouts, taking them almost all the way down to trip the lights at the far end. Now, no worries here with the Bolger crew. They're just a bit of a low-budget operation, and they're just waiting till the very last minute to conserve as much fuel as they can. Steve?
Well, the only superhero Dean Scusa's got is his dad, Don, and all of you are making this car go down the racetrack.
I appreciate it, Steve. I think we have an extra incentive here this weekend. A lot of Matco and Quickshine people are here, but most importantly, Lance said he would take us out for pistachio ice cream if we won this thing, so we're all looking forward to that on such a hot day. Woo!
He's getting desperate now, folks. He's getting desperate.
Well, of course, the pistachio has got to be the word of the day. If you don't know about young Mr. Scusa, they give a word of the day, and he has got to find a way to work it into the TV shows.
Well, this guy, he goes through a lot of words of the day. Let me tell you, more than we do. John Force in the Castro car, and he loves Gary Bolger. You know why? He takes new clutch discs to Bolger. Bolger puts him in the bell housing, runs him one time, and gives him back to Force. They work better with one run on them, so that is the John Force clutch test machine in the right-hand lane. Plus, it saves him a fortune on discs.
And no, there is not a threat of rain. That was raw fuel pumping out of the pipes of Gary Bolger's car. Running a little bit on the wrist side, maybe.
And certainly a potential to not be able to fire that cylinder. And if you can't, well, you talked about it before. It hurts you tremendously. Bolger's got him lit, but Force comes smoking by. Whoa, John Force, 530, only 272, but Bolger just a bit weak at 550, 255 miles an hour. So the elapsed times and speed still way down, but that doesn't make it a bad drag race. If anything, it makes it an interesting one. Stay with us. We'll be back to Virginia.
Welcome to American Sports Cavalcade's coverage of the Virginia Is for Lovers Nationals. Ralph Shaheen, Steve Evans, and Bob Fry with you from just outside of Richmond. Here's Steve Evans with John Force.
That was like one of them good old match races, just smoking the tires, wheeling and dealing.
That's right, and I'm the best at it because I've had the most practice. But I'll tell you what, we're starting to figure this deal out. Even down course, it don't matter. Cruz was behind us and the points got knocked out, but Hoffman, I love you, but I think I've heard enough.
Huh, heard enough. Wow, wonder what he means by that. Sounds like this rivalry is just about to reach the boiling point. Jack Wyatt backs up, he gets set to go. He's gonna match up against maybe the challenger to the throne of the king of the burnouts, Casey Spurlock.
Yeah, and it's huge for Jack Wyatt to be this far. He doesn't run that many national events. Casey Spurlock, well, he qualified number 4 at a great 5:19, but that was in the cool of the evening Friday night. A love pat from crew chief Ron Swearingen. He ran 5:32 to beat Del Worsham in round number 1, but there too, that car had no big top-end charge, only 269 miles an hour. The Fruit of the Loom car, Spurlock. Woo, a red light and smoke in the tires for Jack Wyatt. The red light nor the tire smoke, any big surprise. And look at Spurlock get down there. The best elapsed time of the round so far at 5:29, 273 miles an hour, and a brilliant 4.5 reaction time.
Well, the red light will come blazing on here to end Jack Wyatt's day. He had to try to get the jump on KC, knowing that he was going to be down on power. And as far as the Final Four is concerned, Smiley, John Force on the left, and Grimm, Al Hoffman on the right. I think that about says it all. What these two think of this rivalry. Force has lane choice. Dean Scusa and Casey Spurlock, with Casey getting the lane choice. Down to the far end with Steve, Casey.
You might have wore that throttle pedal out. You were pedaling this thing pretty hard, Hollywood.
Yeah, it was. You know, it wasn't that I was coming all the way out of the pedal. I was just feathering it a little bit there, trying to get it to dry up a little bit. Track's a little tricky out there. A lot of people have been having trouble this weekend, but, you know, Steve, this is eliminations, and you do whatever it takes.
Best elapsed time of the round at 5:29. You got lane choice. Life is good.
Life is good. You know, this really starting to come around here, and the Fruit of the Loom car is really doing a nice job for us, even though it doesn't look like it. You know, the ETs aren't the big ETs, but what matters is we're getting to the end of the racetrack first.
Well, with the funny car action done, we'll go back to pro stock. This is round 2 action where Joe Lapone and Buddy Ingersoll will match up. Now, these are two drivers who are both very competent drivers, but you don't really expect to see them moving on into round number 2. Here's a look at the point standings, and even though all their equipment got trashed, Darrell Alderman and Scott Jeffrey still sit first and third in the points, but everybody else is able to close up. Now, maybe we'll see possibly one of the Dodges at Columbus.
Buddy Ingersoll is a very talented driver. He has driven some pretty strange machines, including turbocharged gas cars, all kinds of violent mounts, and it's really taught him how to handle one of these cars. He's got a tremendous amount of experience. What's interesting here is these two cars qualified 12th and 13th, respectively. Buddy Ingersoll in the Winnebago Oldsmobile at 715, 193 miles an hour. And Joe Lapone in the Chevrolet Beretta with the Larry Morgan Oldsmobile motor, also 715 at 193. And what was kind of unique is that both the lapse times and speeds were identical to the last decimal point. Seldom happens. Lapone got to be thinking hole shot again. That's what got him this far. Ingersoll, he's not going to be pressured. He's been around this deal a long time. Dead even lead by both drivers, and it's a tremendous race. But Lapone goes to the Final Four, 718 to a losing 722.
The two cars left the line even, but watch the rear end of Lapone's car. See how it steps out, pointing the front end right at the center line? You gotta stay straight and even to have a good run and be quick. Lapone is able to pedal faster to the far end. He gets another win. He talks to Steve.
Hey gang, it's Joe Lapone. Where you been?
I've been waiting, that's all. I didn't want to do anything until we got here, so now we're ready.
Now you got him where you want him, right?
Pretty much. We had lane choice that round, which was something different. Getting by first round was something different, and having lane choice. I mean, it's too much in one race, but we got by it, so we're looking forward to doing real well this time.
We're glad to see you again.
Thanks, we're glad to be here. Appreciate it.
That's actually Lapone's third victory of the weekend. I heard he put it to Evans out on the golf course before the racing got started. The next pair is Kurt Johnson and Mark Osborne.
He is a pretty good stick. Kurt Johnson, they've been trying a lot of things with this car. His dad told me, Warren Johnson, that he expects Kurt, with this race, to really start making a move in the points. Mark Osborne, I'll tell you, this guy can jump up and bite you at any time. He only qualified 14th here at 716. 718 was the bump, but that doesn't say anything about the Mama Rosa's pizza car. He's won a national event this year, and he is just deadly off the starting line. A quiet man that lets his reaction time do his talking. Kurt Johnson, Mark Osborne. Johnson near lane. Who's going to stage? Kurt. And by almost a full car length, it is Kurt Johnson. His dad is right. A 709 heat of the day, not bad. 194 miles an hour. Osborne trails with a 715. Over in the pits, it's kind of like the Rose Parade. If a youngster wants a good view of the action, hey, get on Daddy's shoulder. He won't mind. Stay with us. NHRA drag racers took the Virginia is for lovers motto to heart. Tommy Johnson Jr. announced his engagement to the lovely Debbie. Saturday afternoon at Eddie Hill's pit, well, Eddie and Ursi were matron and best man of honor to a wedding of their fans. And in Pro Stock, Jerry Ekman, to not be outdone, planned his honeymoon to coincide with this event.
And up in the grandstands, a whole lot of fun going on up there. They love their drag racing. Pro Stock type drag racing, as a matter of fact. Jim Yates backs up. He gets set to go racing.
Well, Yates is a native of Virginia. That's what a lot of those cheers were for. And Troy Coughlin, we told you earlier, bang up, driving off the starting line from the operator of the Jegs mail order Oldsmobile. Hasn't been doing this all that long. Jim Yates been doing it a long time and tabbed this year to fill the Pro Stock slot in the McDonald's team. And his Pontiac was the #2 qualifier to Warren Johnson. Johnson was low at a 7:05. Yates at a 7:10. That is the closest anybody has been to Warren Johnson all weekend. 0.05 of a second, and that's a century in Pro Stock racing.
I really think Jim Yates is putting more pressure on himself to win. He's got to get one soon.
He's in trouble here. Whoa! Yates pulls it out by a bumper. 7:10, exactly what he qualified with. 194 miles an hour. Coughlin with a much better light by 0.05. Watch this.
The reason why I say Yates has got to win, because every one of Joe Gibbs' other drivers, including Bobby Labonte, now have won. Yates has got to be feeling some pressure, even though Gibbs tells him to hang in there. Yates did a good job of catching up and passing Coughlin before he got to the far end. Just barely. A 7:10 to a 7:18 made the difference. Yates gets to meet Steve.
But Jim, you tell me, is a 7:10 good?
7:10's pretty good for this heat out here, I think. It's awful good. I tell you, we've been working on this thing awful hard, and the crew back there has been working on it, and it's running pretty good right now. We just got to keep it up.
And cut some lights, maybe.
Well, I tell you, it's just getting tougher and tougher out there. I think we're concentrating a lot more on the car and a little less on driving. How bad was that one?
He was out on you a bit, about 500.
That's too much to let him go. I don't think that'll happen again. At least I hope not. If I'm going to win this thing, I can't have that happening.
No, it says right in the rule book.
That's exactly right, Steve. He can't afford to let that ever happen again, because if you have to match up against somebody like Ray Franks or Warren Johnson, they won't give you a chance to catch back. Ray Franks has been looking pretty strong, and he just might be able to take advantage of somebody in a racetrack like this one today.
This is a guy that kind of sneaks up on him. You got to read the qualifying list to see. They qualified #8 at a 7:14. Warren Johnson, well, is it any surprise? #1 at a 7:05, 195, hoping to make a points harvest while those Dodges are still sidelined. Of Scott Jeffrey and Darrell Alderman after the criminal vandalism at the Wayne County Speed Shop. They may not even make the next race on the NHRA trail, the Oldsmobile Spring Nationals. We're hoping they do.
Boy, and Warren's got to do it now, Steve. He's won the DuPont Challenge, which shows he still has it, but he's got to get points while the Dodges are away.
WJ hasn't won since Indy of last year. Red light at first round at the last race. Warren's behind, but not for long. You heard him powering through the 5-speed transmissions. Johnson, this is really outstanding. 7:06. His best has been a 7:05, and that was at night. 196 miles an hour. Big speed for the conditions.
One of the trickiest tracks all season, but one of the best Pro Stock runs we've seen all season out of Warren Johnson. The master goes to work, and he just goes after Ray Franks. Franks got him out of the box with a 4:53 reaction time, but down here's where Warren came on strong. A 7:06, 196.1 miles an hour. Warren Johnson moves on to the next round and Final Four action. Kurt Johnson, his son, will match up against Jim Yates. Kurt's got lane choice in that competition, and Warren will go up against Joe Lapone. Johnson's got lane choice. Lapone has his hands full. Here's Steve.
I think from this point on, this may turn into a driver's race, Warren. You're 7:06. There's an 09 out there and a 10.
I'll tell you, it's going to be a driver's race, but it's also going to be a crew chief's race. The heat's starting to come into this track, getting a little tricky out there. We moved around. I saw Kurt move around a little bit. I'm sure Jim didn't make a picture-perfect pass either.
Well, Warren, we know you got plenty of information stockpiled back in your transport to dial in for this semifinal action coming up. Blaine Johnson's ready for his semifinal run. They're wheeling him into the staging area now. Stay with us. American Sports Cavalcade coming back for more. The Virginia is for Lovers National. Steve and I are both originally from California. We'll tell you the great thing about the summertime out there is it's dry. You come to the southeast, not only is it hot, but it's humid. When you're working hard at the track, humidity is not your friend. Here's Steve.
You know it's a hot day when the tough guys on the safety safari get out the umbrellas to keep the sun off their brow. Everybody is feeling it, the drivers more than anybody else. They're in 5-layer suits, sometimes for up to 20 minutes waiting in the staging lanes. A&B Ambulance down here is doing some preventative first aid, and it's called ice and cold water. Every driver gets out of the car, they're right there with a cold rag to mop their brow and a drink of water. It can do a lot to prevent some drivers from going to the hospital. We saw that in Phoenix this year. Heat prostration was a big problem. It is a tad warm.
Needless to say, the soft drink concessionaires are doing a booming business here this weekend. People are sucking up all the liquids they can get their hands on. Shelly Anderson and Corey Mack backing up in a position, getting set for their semifinal runs.
That's right. The loser goes in the trailer. The winner goes into the final round. Corey Mack and Shelly Anderson have a very nice relationship. I've watched them at the end of the racetrack, win or lose, and they seem to really enjoy each other's company and each other's competition. Corey Mack, second in points. He could do something about that here today with Larry Dixon, the points leader, out in round number 1. That's just more pressure on the driver. The crew saying, come on, kid, get a good light. And Corey has not been catching good lights. The car has been winning these races for him.
Corey Mack is sporting the Washington Redskins colors on his helmet this weekend. Corey, Shelly, and Blaine Johnson, Steve, are all graduates out of the alcohol classes, in fact, national event winners.
Shelly Anderson had him off the starting line, but Corey Mack had the power and, more importantly, the traction. 4.96 seconds, 281 miles an hour. The speed starting to ease up where they ought to be now, as maybe the afternoon is cooling a bit. Watch Shelly.
Boy, she really had him at the light. She ran a 4.86 reaction time to a slower 5.33. Had she not lost it right there, she had Corey Mack's number. At the far end of the racetrack, Corey came on strong of 4.96, 281 miles an hour. But you can see he still hazed the tires a little bit. Not as bad as earlier, but worse than we've seen from him.
You know, I kind of like him smoking the tires like that. I think it adds a lot visually. It means the driver's got stuff to do in there, maybe lift or grab the brake or something. It makes for interesting drag racing.
You know, a lot of people have been saying that the nitro classes have gotten into a crew chief's division, and it's really just if the crew chief dials up the car. Today's a good sign that the drivers are really active behind the wheel.
Absolutely. Blaine Johnson, a 4-time alcohol dragster champion, still looking for the big one here in the big leagues of Top Fuel, and he'd love to get it right here in Virginia. As I said, he's been below qualifier 3 or 4 times this year. He said top speed of the meeting fence. He has top speed here at 304 miles an hour. His big problem is going to be Scott Coletta. That's his brother Alan Johnson, who manufactures cylinder heads that a lot of these teams are using. That's one way they finance their racing effort with the Travers Tool car.
A lot of people were telling us that, you know, Al Hoffman has the most horsepower in funny car. A lot of people will tell you that Alan Johnson makes the most horsepower in Top Fuel.
I've heard that. Dick LaHaye takes not a backseat to anyone either. He's looking over at Alan Johnson. Alan says, okay, yeah, we're ready. Let's go. Let's drag race.
I think the biggest problem for Alan Johnson has been getting that horsepower to the ground, Steve, and today is really going to be the tricky day for that.
And they've been killing crankshafts in the car, which is super expensive. Alan says yes as he walks away, just to bump up his brother. Scott likes to go in last. And he'll get his wish. This baby is over. Oh, did the Johnson car sound ugly at the finish line? And there's the result. He's happy, but I don't know about Everett, who keeps the books on this team, because that's a lot of piston smoke coming out of the pipes.
He's happy till he looks behind him, Steve. Here you see it's all over right there as Scott Coletta goes up and up, ball of smoke. But watch the far end of the racetrack is Alan Johnson's motor just drops cylinders, it drops parts, it drops everything out of the backside of that car. But Blaine Johnson will move on to match up with Corey Mack in the final. Mack has some lane choice. Here's Steve.
Until it started to feed on itself, this baby was humming.
Yeah, we had some of the best short times we've had today, and we were just looking forward to getting into the final. You know, I don't know what happened to Scott. He maybe smoked the tires. Nobody told me, but I'm just glad to be in the final, and we can fix all the damage that we did today.
You've raced Corey Mack plenty of times.
Oh, yeah, we've been around for a while. We raced alcohol for a while, and I like racing them. It should be interesting. I haven't raced them too much in fuel yet, but we're going to give it another shot.
If you get that 300-mile-an-hour speed back, you could be deadly.
Oh, definitely. You know, it's dropping cylinders. The heat out here, it's kind of spinning on the top end, but we're going to do our best in the final.
Well, Alan Johnson will have a quick opportunity to put his car back together, let his brother get back to the staging lanes, and get ready to go. We return with more semi-final action. Funny cars and pro stock still to go. Stay with us.
Welcome back to the Virginia is for Lovers Nationals. It is Pro Stock Final 4, and here is a tremendous matchup. The Oldsmobile of Kurt Johnson in the previous round, a 709. He will be up against the Pontiac, the McDonald's Pontiac of Jim Yates in the round earlier, a 710. Tony Yates using hand signals to direct Jim through the burnout process. Now the crew, they have a better way of talking to their driver, as Bob found out.
Everything's high-tech in the world of racing now, even in the pro stock category. Dick Maskin, the crew chief for the McDonald's car. Tell us what you do with this little headset on, Dick.
Well, the whole crew has a set, and we all communicate with one another, and then we communicate with the driver and try to tell him what's going on up there, who's turning what lane looks the best. All kinds of things go on.
I think it's kind of a neat little unit. Why do I want to order a Big Mac, fries, and a Coke when I look at that? I don't know.
Bob, that's meal number 4. You save about 65 cents. Just say meal number 4. All right, there's Yates in the far lane. I'll tell you, this could be a dandy. Pro stackers sometimes will play a game or two at the starting line. Red light for Kurt Johnson. Yates has this one in the sack. And listen to these numbers, Ralph. Kurt, by 4 thousandths of a second, gave that one away.
That is absolutely unheard of. We talked about how frustrating of a season it's been for Kurt Johnson. 4 thousandths of a second costs him from going into the finals here at Richmond, something he desperately needed to get that boost. And instead, Steve talks to Yates.
To say Jim Yates is excited would be an understatement. Second final in the row, another 710, and you've taken over the points lead.
It don't get no better than this right now. I tell you, I want to thank McDonald's and Joe Gibbs and Dynamax, Pontiac, everybody for working so hard. Dick has put some serious horsepower in this car, and we're finally learning how to get it down the racetrack.
Can you find any more horsepower for this racetrack? Will it take it?
Yeah, that's what we did that run. The run before, when we ran bad, we just had a lot of clutch out of it. We were trying to baby the track, and the track will take everything we threw at it. I mean, that felt really good. It hooked up hard out there, and it runs strong through low gear.
Let's find out who he's going to race. It is good.
Yates picked up a national event win at Brainerd last year, and as Steve said, was in the finals in Englishtown, but he needs a win here in 1995. So it's Warren Johnson and Joe Lapone.
Boy, this is both ends of the pro stock spectrum. Joe Lapone, who just, he's kind of like a gypsy out there going around the country. Great guy. Everybody loves him. Ralph Shaheen found out maybe one of the reasons why.
One quick look around Joe Lapone's race trailer, and you'll figure out exactly what he's all about. There's more jokes on the wall in this trailer than there are pictures of race cars. In fact, they'll even tell you how you can get a Will Work for Food franchise out of these guys. Now, Joe Lapone and his team, well, it's just Joe Lapone, really. He has no team. Joe, you guys are having a great run here this week in Richmond. What's making the difference?
Believe it or not, we sort of got a little luck going with us. No, we just got some Larry Morgan supplies our Oldsmobile engines, and we got it at the combination. Looks like we got it right for the track, and it's a constant battle between getting the clutch and the power lined up and the track, and it seems like things are going our way right now.
But I do hear you have one big speed secret.
Yeah, what happens is if somebody does get a little bit out in front of me, I do this, and they move over.
Unless, of course, he's distracted by the picture of the very lovely young woman taped to the steering wheel. Lapone does indeed love life, and it loves him. What a special thing this would be if he could literally fair and square beat Warren Johnson.
You know, Steve, not that sitting next to you is such a bad deal, but if I could drive a pro stock car professionally, I'd be loving life too.
Better get on the horn, Joe. You got a big problem. That was some brilliant driving on the part of Lapone to even gain control of that automobile and get back on the throttle. Warren wins at 7:07. Guess what, kiddies? That gives him lane choice at 195 miles an hour. Let's watch again, Lapone. Whoa.
Remember when we saw Lapone's car skip out earlier? Watch this. Same problem, even worse this time, and you can't afford to have any hiccups when you're racing Warren Johnson. He's able to straighten it out and get it down the racetrack. Great bit of driving, but he is no match for WJ. The professor dialed up another big one, runs a 7:07, 195 miles an hour. He goes on to the finals to meet the golden arches of Jim Yates. WJ gets the late choice, Steve.
I think we have a great final on our hands. Pontiac versus Oldsmobile, Jim Yates versus Warren Johnson. That's good billing.
That's good billing for GM. There's no doubt about that. You got two GM cars, two strong cars out there. Kurt's running well today. Jim's running well. We've been hanging right in there. I think we can see a great race.
You got lane choice, big deal?
Not really. I don't think so. Both lanes seem to be just about the same. They're hot. They're a little greasy. We're just going to have to take a look at what we got to deal with.
That's Warren Johnson for it. They're both bad. A 7:07 sends him to the final.
Well, Yates has been getting better, but Warren Johnson is definitely the professor. No, he's got this track, I think, figured out just a little bit better right now. They're shaking hands now, but they're getting set to do battle. And two guys that did not shake hands before they strapped in were John Force and Al Hoffman. Coming back, they're next. Welcome back to the Virginia is for Lever Nationals. Ralph Shaheen, Steve Evans, and Bob Fry with you, and what we've all been waiting for. Tom Anderson gets set to lower the body on Al Hoffman's Western Auto backed entry. He's going to do battle with none other than John Force and the Castrol crew. And Steve, this is the epitome of NHRA drag racing in 1995. This is it. It doesn't get any better.
We want you to hear that long, long burnout of John Force as he whips this crowd into a frenzy. You know, you look at Al Hoffman and you think, boy, he looks like a tough guy. Is he really? Well, Bob Fry tried to find out.
When it comes to drag racing, everybody in the sport is, well, nice. There's one driver that takes a little different approach to this, Al Hoffman. Now, when it comes to racing, you make no bones about it. No more Mr. Nice Guy.
I'm nice. Give me a break here. No, it's, you know, everybody's out here. They're serious. They want to win. This is a tough race. It's really hot out here right now, and we're just going round by round. We move back into second place, and we're going to try to win this deal, and then we'll be right on the World Championship deal.
It's a pretty good weekend for you. You took out that Batmobile in the last round. You got old what's-his-name coming up this round.
Yeah, what's-his-name? I got a pretty good score going against him this year, so I was more worried about Cruz than I am what's-his-name, but anything can happen out there.
Don't let that face or that smile fool you. Al Hoffman wants to rip their tongues out.
Yeah, with a pair of pliers. John Force is not happy with the new Al Hoffman t-shirt that turns his shtick kind of against him. What really made him mad is that Springsteen is the king. And we all know what an Elvis fan Force is. That got his goat. That's what he meant by I've had enough.
The one thing about these two drivers, though, Steve, is they mutually respect each other and each other's teams. And because of that respect, they love beating each other because they know how good of a win it is if you can put the other guy in the trailer.
Helen Hoffman will tell you their ultimate frustration with Force is not that he's a great racer. Everybody knows that. It seems like he also has the luck to go along with it when he needs it. And that just drives him around the bend. Let's see if he's got it here. Race of the day coming your way. Hoffman shuts it off at 1,000 feet. You saw the butterflies close down on that injector, and it is Force at a 525. Getting better and better at 273 miles an hour. Won't have Hoffman to kick around anymore.
Well, Hoffman looked pretty good off the line, especially just a few hundred feet down the track. You'll see Force's rear end dance around on him a little bit. See it right in there? I thought that was going to spell the end for John Force. However, the headers break on Hoffman. They drag, causing sparks. His day is done. Steve's with John.
John, let's be honest about it. There was more riding on that one than prize money or points.
I know, Steve. I mean, I make jokes to Castro and Pontiac. I say Batman Cruz is stuck to the roof back in the hotel, and you know the whole deal, but it's all hype. But you're right. Racing Al Hoffman, it's tough, and he's a kind of guy that goes out there and does his thing, and we're the kind of guys that we do our thing too, and we try to back up what we do, but we're having a good day here for the people. Don't give a damn. It's America, and this ain't corny crap. I'm just glad to be a truck driver that went somewhere in life. And truck drivers, we can all do it.
I'm glad to have met you, John.
What else can you say? Casey Spurlock, he's backing up from his burnout. From the 1,000-foot mark, he's backing up from his burnout. This guy's really laying claim to king of the burnout. Well, the Virginia fans are loving the burnout, but Ronnie Swearingen, Casey's crew chief, is not that excited about these new lengthy burnouts because they can really do a lot of damage to the parts. Well, Hoffman loses a force, but he still talks to Steve.
There cannot be for you a more frustrating guy to lose to than John Forrest when you got him in a corner.
Well, it's a long year yet. It's tough conditions here, you know. It's a great track, great facility, but, you know, it's green. It's the first race here. It's going to take a little time for it to come around. I'm happy for Western Auto and Slick 50 to go this far. I mean, we moved back into second. We got Cruz the last round. Forrest is a good racer. That's why he's world champion, so we'll be back.
Good attitude.
You see on the right side of the car, which will actually be camera left here where the crew is working, the header pipes sitting down on the ground where they broke. That's what caused the sparks, forced Hoffman to shut off. And if he wins this championship, he will have forgotten all about Richmond. Dean Scusa is who Casey Spurlock is going to match up with, and either one of these cars can move on through this round very easily, Steve.
Spurlock has the advantage on paper, but they're on pavement. Scusa backpedals. Whoa, and Spurlock blows the motor. Scusa was closing fast, but not quite enough. That was an expensive run for the Fruit of Loom Activewear car. 548 and only 246.
Well, how much of that was due to that 1,000-foot burnout, do you think? Ronnie Swearingen's got some work to do. There you see the tires letting go on Scusa's car. He backpedals, gets back in it. Boy, what a nice bit of driving by Dean Scusa. Lance Larson will be proud of his boy when he gets back to the pits. On the other side, watch the puffs of smoke. The big one right at the line. Casey moves on to match up with John Force in the Virginia is for Lovers finals. Steve gets to talk to the Hollywood guy.
These things usually give you a sign something bad is about to happen, usually.
Yeah, I had a sign that time. It started spinning the tires really hard and shaking. I pedaled it a couple of times. On that last pedal, when I got all the way back into the throttle, it popped. But like we talked about before, you're trying to get to the finals here. You're trying to win this race. This is elimination day. I've got more motors. We'll change them every round if we have to.
Who'll do the longest burnout, you or Force?
No question about it. Hollywood's the king.
1,000 feet is the record here this afternoon. Maybe more when we come back. Stay with us.
Back in Virginia with Pedregon out, Hoffman out, John Force is in high cotton, and he's enjoying every minute of it, relaxing with his fans, and there's plenty of them. All right, it is time right now for the Pro Stock Final. You know the players. Jim Yates looking for his first win of the year up against Warren Johnson in the Oldsmobile. The number 1 and number 2 qualifiers, Ralph Shaheen.
Steve, I bet you WJ is thinking more about the fact that he needs to win here to get the points to beat the Dodge guys than he is about the fact that he's racing Jim Yates.
And Warren Johnson has not won a race yet this year either, which is just almost impossible to believe. The Dodges were so dominant, but they're not here. Jim Yates has got to be thinking about his driving. In fact, both drivers have to concentrate on that Christmas tree. Neither has been spectacular in that department. Let's see if they play any games. Nope. The Professor and his crew chief, Greg Anderson, back in the starting line, likes what he sees on the scoreboard. Another 706 for Johnson, another 710 for Yates. Lots of sportsmanship on the starting line. 196 for Johnson, 195 for Yates, but Warren ruled off the starting line.
Both drivers did pretty much what they've done all day today. Pretty slow at the starting line, nothing real amazing up there, but their times at the far end of the racetrack were both very, very good. Problem for Jim Yates is just that WJ's been better all day. Not by much, but just enough to win his first national of the year, Steve.
Warren's ready.
You're ready.
Steve, it's been so long. You still working this job?
Contrary to Jim Yates, I stand on my earlier statement. Nobody was close to Warren Johnson this weekend. Tremendous job off the starting line, first to the finish line.
Well, Jim's awful good on the tree, so I knew I had to do my job there. Greg's been doing a great job on his race car all weekend long. I believe we've been in the 7.0s all weekend long. I don't know what his last run was, but it felt pretty good.
It doesn't matter. It was a 7.06 for the record.
Well, as you can see, even though Yates lost here today, he moves to the lead of the point standings. Alderman drops down to third. Jeffron falls out of the top three. WJ slides up to number 2. Blaine Johnson fires up his car. He's ready to go top fuel final. Getting set to get underway, Corey Mack. Getting ready to go as Lee Beard takes a look over the engine, makes a few adjustments inside the cockpit.
All looks well on the Johnson car. Likewise on the McClanathan car. One thing these two drivers have in common besides excellent burnouts is they're members of the National Hot Rod Association. You can be too for just $52 a year. That gets you 48 issues of National Dragster magazine, a rule book, a pen, a patch, a decal, and if you call the number on your screen right now, I'll make absolutely sure they throw in your free copy of Diamond P's Drag Racing 94. So join NHRA, the world's largest motorsports sanctioning body. And the first time NHRA has appeared here in Virginia is this afternoon, and we're looking at the next to last race, the top fuel final. Alan Johnson, what do you think? I think it's a pick 'em, Ralph.
I really think so too, Steve, and I wouldn't have said that had this been an earlier race in the day. The reason why I'm saying that is because earlier today was very, very hot. Blaine was quick in qualifying, second quickest as a matter of fact, and that was done in the cool of the evening. Now that we're later in the afternoon, the track has cooled down, the air temperature has cooled down, some of that horsepower is coming back to Blaine Johnson. Corey Mack has his hands full.
This is also a battle between the crew chiefs, Alan Johnson and Lee Beard. You saw them walk away. Nothing they can do now to help. Corey Mack was up to the challenge. He just drilled Blaine Johnson off the starting line. 4.96, the winning elapsed time to a 4.98, only 200s between them. But with 400s off the starting line, his best light of the day, Corey Mack made it look worse than it had to be.
Corey obviously figured out it had cooled down as well, and he got on the light as quick as he could. A 4.56 to a 4.97. That really helped out Corey Mack because down at the far end of the racetrack, Johnson was not much slower than Corey Mack. A 4.96 to a 4.98. Corey Mack had just enough. And the winning crew celebrates. Big Macs for everybody. On the other side, oh, so close. You can't be that far off, Steve.
And everywhere in Southern California, they're dancing on the tables and ordering another round. Corey Mack has done it again.
How about this burger car, huh?
How about that drag race?
It was a good drag race. I could hear him all the way down there. I knew he'd be on time to the starting line. Just one of those things, man. I have to thank Joe Gibbs, Interstate Batteries, Shell Oil, EDS, Champion Spark Plugs, all the above. Thank you for everything. Thanks.
And thank you for a great day of racing.
This is why it's so important to advance on through the rounds. Larry Dixon goes out in round 1. Corey Mack wins. Look at the flip-flop at the top of the leaders here in the point standings. Blaine Johnson actually sits 5th in the points now behind Corey Mack. Ronnie Swearingen wondering if his driver's going to give him another lengthy burnout and stress the parts on that Fruit of the Loom backed entry. On the other side of the starting line, Austin Coyle waits patiently as John Force gets set for the Funny Car Final next. Welcome back to the Funny Car Final for the Virginia Is for Lovers Nationals. John Force backing into position. Steve found out earlier that signing autographs in the Force family is in the genes.
Like father, like daughter. That is Courtney, John Force's youngest. She just learned to write. She's in the 1st grade and she's working the crowd, signing autographs. Yesterday, she started doing this all by herself. The crowd was chanting that they wanted Courtney to sign, so she is. In fact, her signature's better than Force's.
Force is hoping he's just a better driver right now than his daughter.
John Force wheeling and dealing, smoking the tires. He doesn't care. That's the way he likes it. He wins. The Virginia is for Lovers Nationals at a 5:19. Best of laps time of the day with a jump speed of 270.
Boy, he came loaded for this one, Steve. The better reaction time, a 4:77 to a 5:26 for Casey Spurlock. At the big end of the racetrack, how about a 5:19 to a 5:57, and all kinds of problems for Spurlock. Look at Force. He's smoking, he's popping, he's belching, he's doing everything, and he's winning. And the crew is pumped. At the far end of the racetrack, Force climbed out of his hot rod, as he calls it, gets to talk to Steve.
Well, I tell you what, John Force fighting to get his helmet off. He's exhausted. He's worked very hard all day in this heat. And, John, it was like you had a target right in the middle of your forehead all day. They all wanted a shot.
Hey, it's been all day, but they tell me the nightmare's over, but kiddies, it ain't. As long as you got Coyle and Bernie Federley and a Pontiac and Castrol and all them people that pay. Big Duck on the block here won. What can I say? Fram Autolite, we've done our job. Cruz is still stuck to that ceiling, Batman. That's why I love him.
Well, Force did just what he had to do. He put away Pedregon, they put away Hoffman, and he extended his points lead here at the inaugural Virginia is for Lovers Nationals. A promotional consideration has been provided for and a fee paid by the special offer from Diamond P Sports.
What could follow the 3 volumes of Diamond P's and They Walked Away series? A 4th, and They Walked Away 4, like its predecessors, captures the most perilous moments in recent motorsports history. Unmerciful tumbles, unbelievable flips, falls, and fires, and in every harrowing incident, the driver beats the odds. Once again, man and machine test their mettle through mayhem in over a dozen motorsports disciplines. You can't find this video in stores. You can't rent it. And anyone who has it won't let you beg, borrow, or steal it. Then how do you get your own copy of And They Walked Away 4? Call 1-800-652-8686 or send $24.95 plus $4 shipping and handling to the address on your screen. 1-800-652-8686 or charge it on your Visa, MasterCard, or Discover card.
Every time there's a new drag race on the schedule, everybody's anticipation gets high, and the inaugural running of the Virginia's for Lovers Nationals didn't let us down as we look back.
For Bob Bright and Ralph Shaheen, I'm Steve Evans saying so long from Richmond.